The snow was falling so thick that Dominic Reynolds could barely see 3 feet ahead. But he had to keep moving because his daughter's school had called 20 minutes ago, saying she was running a fever and needed to be picked up immediately. His truck's heater had given out that morning, which was just another thing on a growing list of mechanical problems he couldn't afford to fix. The vehicle coughed and sputtered as he navigated the slippery roads, his breath visible in the frigid air. Work had been slow at the construction site lately. Too many snow days meant too many missed paychecks, and the bills were piling up faster than the snow on his windshield. Dominic pulled into the school parking lot with 5 minutes to spare before they'd start calling again. He jogged through the entrance, his worn work boots leaving wet tracks on the linoleum. His daughter Emma was sitting in the nurse's office, looking small and miserable with her pink cheeks and glassy eyes. "Daddy," she said weakly, reaching for him. "Hey, princess, not feeling so good, huh?" He pressed his hand to her forehead. She was burning up. The nurse handed him a note about keeping her fever down and making sure she stayed hydrated, along with a meaningful look that suggested maybe he should take her to see a doctor, as if he didn't know that. As if the reason he hesitated had anything to do with not caring instead of everything to do with the health care bills from last year still sitting unpaid on his kitchen counter. He bundled Emma up in her purple winter coat and carried her out to the truck. She was 7 years old, getting bigger every day, but right now she felt tiny and fragile in his arms. That protective instinct that had been his compass for the past 3 years, since his wife left, flared hot in his chest. The truck started with a reluctant cough. He cranked the useless heater anyway, hoping somehow it might decide to work. Emma shivered in the passenger seat, and he tucked his own jacket around her shoulders. "We're going to stop at the store real quick, okay? Get you some medicine and soup." She nodded weakly, her eyes already drooping. The supermarket parking lot was a mess of slush and abandoned carts. Dominic found a spot close to the entrance and looked at Emma. She'd fallen asleep, her face flushed with fever. He didn't want to wake her or drag her through the cold, but he couldn't leave her in the freezing truck either. He was weighing his options when he saw a woman struggling near the store entrance. She was trying to manage at least a dozen shopping bags while the wind whipped snow around her. She wore an expensive-looking coat, but her feet kept sliding in heels that were completely wrong for this weather. As he watched, one of her bags tipped, sending items tumbling into the snow. Dominic looked at Emma again, still asleep. The store entrance was maybe 40 feet away. He could see it from here. He cracked the windows slightly for air, locked the doors, and made a quick decision. He jogged over to the woman who was now crouched in the snow, trying to gather her scattered items with stiff, cold fingers. "Madam, let me help you," he said, already bending down to scoop up a box of tea that was getting buried. She looked up, and he was struck by her eyes. They were a remarkable shade of green, bright against her dark hair and the gray of the snowstorm. She looked tired and frustrated and maybe on the verge of tears. "I don't need help," she started to say, but then another bag tipped over. "Actually, that would be wonderful, thank you." Her voice was refined, educated. Up close, everything about her screamed money, from her perfectly tailored coat to the leather gloves she wore. But her expression was genuine, grateful without being condescending. "Where's your car?" Dominic asked, gathering bags efficiently. "The black Mercedes, 3 rows back," she said, pointing with a gloved hand. He loaded his arms with as many bags as he could carry. She tried to take some too, but he shook his head. "I've got it. You just lead the way and try not to fall in those shoes." A small smile crossed her face. "They weren't the best choice, were they? Not unless you're trying to ice skate." He made 2 trips, moving fast. His own truck was still visible the whole time, Emma's shape steady in the passenger seat. The woman, whose name he still didn't know, opened her trunk. It was pristine inside, unlike his truck bed, which was full of tools and tarps and construction debris. "Thank you so much," she said as he loaded the last bag. "Really, you have no idea how much I appreciate this. Can I give you something for your trouble?" "No need," Dominic said quickly. "Just help somebody else when you get the chance." She studied him for a moment, and he became aware of how he must look. His work jacket was stained and patched. His jeans were worn through at one knee. He probably had sawdust in his hair. He looked like exactly what he was, a guy who worked with his hands and didn't have money to spare. But she didn't look at him with pity or contempt. There was something else in her expression, something he couldn't quite read. "What's your name?" she asked. Dominic Reynolds." "I'm Rachel Rivers." She extended her hand and he shook it. Even through the gloves, he could feel the firmness of her grip. "Thank you, Dominic. This was really kind of you. No problem. You drive safe now. Roads are getting bad." He was already turning away, his mind back on Emma and medicine and getting home. He didn't see the way Rachel watched him jog back to his beat-up truck, didn't notice how her expression softened when she saw him climb in and immediately check on the small figure in the passenger seat. Rachel sat in her car for a moment after Dominic left, her hands gripping the steering wheel. The heated seats were already warming her up, melting away the chill from her disastrous shopping trip. She'd sent her driver home early because she'd wanted to do something normal, something ordinary people did, like grocery shopping. It had seemed like a good idea at the time. She was the CEO of Rivers Corporation, a tech company her father had built, and that she'd grown into a billion-dollar enterprise over the past 5 years. She was 32 years old, successful by every metric that mattered in business, and absolutely miserable in her personal life. The board meeting that morning had been brutal. The new product launch was behind schedule, and the investors were getting anxious. She'd spent 3 hours being grilled and second-guessed, even though her track record spoke for itself. Then her assistant had reminded her about the company holiday party next week, where she was expected to make an appearance with a date. The last 3 men she'd gone out with had been more interested in her net worth than in her. So she'd sent everyone home and gone shopping, trying to remember what it felt like to be a regular person doing regular things. And then the snow had started, and her impractical shoes had betrayed her, and she'd felt like crying in a supermarket parking lot like some kind of melodramatic mess. And then Dominic had appeared. He hadn't known who she was, hadn't been trying to impress her or network with her or get something from her. He'd just helped because someone needed help, and then he'd rushed back to his truck, where, she could now see, a child was waiting for him. Rachel watched him drive away, the truck belching exhaust, and felt something shift in her chest. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. She drove home slowly, carefully, to her empty penthouse apartment with its floor-to-ceiling windows and designer furniture and crushing silence. She put away her groceries, made herself tea, and couldn't stop thinking about a pair of kind brown eyes and a man who'd helped her without wanting anything in return. Meanwhile, Dominic was at the pharmacy section of a different store, Emma bundled against his chest, trying to figure out which fever reducer was the best value. The name brand was more expensive, but came with a dosing cup. The generic was cheaper, but the packaging looked confusing. "This one, sweetie?" he asked Emma, who just buried her face in his shoulder. He went with the generic and grabbed a can of chicken noodle soup. His checking account could handle this. Barely. At home, which was a small 2-bedroom apartment in a building that had seen better days, he got Emma settled on the couch with blankets and her favorite stuffed elephant. He gave her medicine and made the soup, cooling each spoonful with a gentle blow before feeding it to her. She managed half the bowl before falling asleep again. Dominic sat beside her on the couch, one hand on her warm forehead, and felt the weight of single parenthood pressing down on him. 3 years ago, his wife Kelly had decided she didn't want this life anymore. Didn't want the struggle, didn't want to be tied down to a small town and a construction worker husband and a 4-year-old daughter. She'd left one morning and filed divorce papers from California a month later. He hadn't fought her on it. How could he, when she so clearly didn't want them? Emma barely remembered her mother now. Sometimes she'd ask questions, and Dominic would answer honestly but kindly. "Your mom loved you, but sometimes grown-ups make choices that are hard to understand. She's living a different life now. What he never said was that Kelly sent a birthday card every year with no return address and no money, and that he sometimes lay awake at night wondering what he could have done differently. But mostly, he focused on Emma. On making sure she felt loved and safe and happy, even when money was tight and the world felt hard. She was his whole heart, his reason for getting up every morning and pushing through another day of physical labor that left his back aching and his hands raw. He worked for Morton Construction, which was a small company that paid in cash and didn't ask too many questions about things like health insurance or workers' compensation. The pay was barely enough, but it was steady, and his boss Frank was decent about letting him leave when Emma needed him. His phone buzzed with a text from Frank. "Looks like another snow day tomorrow. We'll let you know about Friday." Dominic closed his eyes. Another day without pay. He'd have to dip into his emergency fund again, the one that was already running on fumes. Emma stirred, whimpering slightly. He checked her temperature. Still high. He got a cool cloth and laid it on her forehead, whispering soft reassurances until she settled. At moments like this, when his daughter was sick and he was scared and tired and feeling the weight of doing this alone, he let himself imagine what it might be like to have a partner. Someone to share the worry with. Someone to take a shift so he could sleep. Someone who looked at him and saw not just a paycheck or a disappointment, but a person worth loving. But dating required time and money and optimism, and he was running short on all three. So he pushed the thoughts away and focused on what mattered. Emma, sleeping fitfully on the couch, depending on him for everything. He didn't think about Rachel Rivers at all. Rachel, on the other hand, couldn't stop thinking about Dominic Reynolds. She told herself it was ridiculous. She'd met him for all of 5 minutes in a parking lot. He'd helped her carry her bags. That was it. There was no reason for his face to keep appearing in her mind, or for her to keep remembering the careful way he'd moved, the competent efficiency with which he'd gathered her scattered items. She had work to do. Reports to review, emails to answer. But she found herself staring out her windows at the snow-covered city instead, wondering about the man with the kind eyes and the beat-up truck, and the child he'd been protecting from the cold. The next morning, Rachel woke to her alarm at 5 a.m, same as always. She did an hour of yoga, made a smoothie she didn't really taste, and was in the office by 7. Her assistant Marcus was already there with her coffee and schedule. "You have the department head meeting at 8, lunch with the Peterson account at noon, and the interview with Tech Today magazine at 3, Marcus said, scrolling through his tablet. "Also, your mother called. Again." Rachel suppressed a sigh. Did she say what she wanted? "Something about the Palmer wedding next month, and why you're not bringing anyone." "Perfect." Marcus gave her a sympathetic look. He was one of the few people who understood the particular loneliness of her position. Everyone wanted something from her. Her time, her money, her connections, her name. Very few people wanted just her. The day blurred by in the usual parade of decisions and demands. She was good at her job, excellent even. But lately, the shine had worn off. The challenges that used to excite her felt routine. The power that had once been intoxicating now felt like an isolating burden. She thought about Dominic again during her lunch meeting, which was ironic because she was sitting across from James Peterson, who was handsome and successful and who had been making interested noises for months. But when he smiled at her, it felt calculated. When he complimented her, it felt like a strategy, not like the way Dominic had simply helped without wanting anything, without even knowing who she was. "Rachel, what do you think?" James was asking. She refocused on the conversation about market shares and quarterly projections, pushing thoughts of parking lot encounters out of her mind. Dominic spent the day at home with Emma, who was still feverish and clingy. He didn't mind the clingy part. She sat on his lap while he read to her, her hot little body pressed against his chest. He made her drink water and eat crackers and took her temperature every few hours. By late afternoon, the fever had broken. Emma's eyes were clearer, her cheeks less flushed. The relief he felt was physical, a loosening of the tight band around his chest. "Daddy," Emma said, her voice scratchy. "Can we watch a movie?" "Sure, princess, you pick." She chose an animated film about princesses and magic, and they snuggled together under blankets while it played. These were the moments that made everything else worth it. The struggle, the worry, the exhaustion. All of it was bearable because of the weight of her against his side and the sound of her laughter when something funny happened on screen. His phone rang halfway through. It was Frank. "Hey, Dom. So the weather's supposed to clear tomorrow. Can you work?" "Depends on Emma. She's been sick." Right. Look, man, I've got this new job starting Monday. Big renovation project. Could mean steady work for the next 2 months, good money, but I need reliable guys. Can you commit?" 2 months of steady work. That could mean catching up on bills, maybe even fixing the truck's heater. But it also meant long hours and physical labor and hoping Emma stayed healthy so he wouldn't have to miss days. "I'm in," Dominic said. "I'll be there." "Good man." "And hey, bring Emma by the site office sometime. Linda's been asking about her." After he hung up, Dominic felt the familiar mix of hope and anxiety. This could be a good break, or it could be another promise that fell apart like so many others. He'd learned not to count on anything until the check was in his hand. Emma fell asleep before the movie ended. He carried her to her bedroom, a small space they'd made cheerful with pink paint and glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. He tucked her in with her elephant and stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching her breathe. The weekend passed. Emma recovered fully, bouncing around the apartment with her usual energy. Dominic did laundry and fixed a leaky faucet and tried to make their food stretch. On Sunday, he took Emma to the park even though it was cold, because she'd been cooped up for days and needed to run around. She played on the snow-covered playground while he watched from a bench, his hands shoved in his pockets. Other families were there too. Couples taking turns pushing their kids on swings, a mom and dad building a snowman together with a toddler. It looked easy for them, this whole family thing. He knew that was probably an illusion. Everyone had struggles. But still, it would be nice not to shoulder it all alone. "Higher, Daddy." Emma called from the swing. He got up and gave her a big push, her delighted shriek cutting through the cold air. This was enough, he told himself. She was enough. Rachel spent the weekend working because that was what she did. She had a dinner party on Saturday night at her penthouse, entertaining investors and their spouses. She played the perfect hostess, charming and attentive, while inside she felt hollow. On Sunday, she went into the office. The building was nearly empty, which was how she liked it. No one demanding her attention. No one watching her every move. She could just work, but she found herself distracted, staring at her computer screen without really seeing it. Her mind kept drifting to a snowy parking lot and a stranger's kindness. She did something she hadn't done in years. She looked him up. Dominic Reynolds wasn't hard to find in the county records. His address was in the affordable housing district across town. No social media presence to speak of. He'd been married and divorced. He had a daughter named Emma. Rachel closed the search window, feeling invasive and ridiculous. What was she doing? She'd met the man for 5 minutes. This was crazy, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something important had happened in that parking lot, something more than just a man helping her with her bags. Monday morning brought a return to routine. Dominic was on the job site by 7, his breath visible in the cold air. Frank's new project was a complete renovation of an old building downtown, turning it into modern office space. It was exactly the kind of work Dominic enjoyed, challenging, physical, requiring skill and problem-solving. He spent the morning helping tear out old walls, losing himself in the rhythm of the work. His body knew how to do this. Lift, swing, tear, haul. His muscles burned in a good way. This was simple, straightforward. You worked hard, you saw results. Around noon, he took his lunch break in the makeshift break room. A few other guys were there, eating sandwiches and talking about sports. Dominic pulled out the peanut butter and jelly sandwich he'd packed and half listened to the conversation. "Hey, Dom," said Mike, one of the older workers. "You hear about Frank's nephew? Got that office job downtown, making twice what we make, sitting in air conditioning." "Good for him," Dominic said neutrally. "Man, I'm telling you, we're breaking our backs while those office types push papers and cash checks. Doesn't seem fair." Dominic just shrugged. Life wasn't fair. He'd learned that lesson a long time ago. You just had to keep moving forward, taking care of what was yours, doing the best you could. His phone buzzed. It was the school. Emma had forgotten her library book, and the librarian was asking if he could bring it by. He checked with Frank, got the okay, and drove the 15 minutes to Emma's school. She met him at the office, her face breaking into a huge smile. "Daddy, you came?" "Of course I came. Can't have you getting in trouble with the librarian." He handed her the book, some story about fairies and friendship. "Thank you." She hugged him tight, and he bent down to squeeze her back. "You being good today?" "Very good. Mrs. Patterson said my story was creative." "That's my girl. Now get back to class. I'll see you at 3:30. He watched her skip down the hallway, her backpack bouncing, and felt that familiar surge of fierce love. Everything he did was for her. Every wall he tore down, every paycheck he earned, every sacrifice he made. It was all for Emma. Back at the site, the afternoon passed in more physical labor. By the time 5 o'clock came, Dominic's shoulders were aching and his hands were raw despite his gloves. But it was good, honest tiredness. The kind that came from work well done. He picked up Emma from the after-school program, which cost money he resented spending, but which was necessary when he worked. She chattered all the way home about her day, something about a boy named Tyler who'd brought a lizard to show and tell. They were halfway through dinner, which was spaghetti with sauce from a jar, when Emma said, "Daddy, do you think you'll ever get married again?" Dominic nearly choked on his pasta. "What brought that on?" Lily's mom just got married. They had a party with cake, and now Lily has a new dad. He set down his fork carefully. "Well, Lily's situation is different from ours. Her parents weren't married before. But could you get married again?" "I don't know, Princess. Maybe someday, if I found the right person." "What would make them the right person?" Good question. "Someone who's kind, someone who makes me laugh, someone who would love you almost as much as I do." Emma considered this seriously. "That's a lot of love." "Sure is." "Well, I hope you find them, because sometimes you look sad." His heart cracked a little. He tried so hard to keep his struggles hidden from her, to make sure she felt secure and happy. "I'm not sad, baby. I've got you. That makes me happy." She smiled at him, her missing front tooth giving her a goofy look. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, more than anything." That night, after Emma was in bed, Dominic sat on his couch with a beer he'd been saving and let himself think about what she'd said. Did he look sad to his 7-year-old? He thought he'd been doing better at hiding it. The truth was, he was lonely. He'd been lonely for 3 years, ever since Kelly left. He missed having a partner. Missed having someone to talk to at the end of the day, someone to share both the good and bad with. Missed being touched with affection instead of just practical necessity. But dating was complicated when you had a kid and no money and a schedule that barely allowed for sleep, let alone romance. The few times he'd tried, it had been a disaster. Women either wanted nothing to do with a single dad, or they pretended to be fine with it until they realized he meant it when he said Emma came first, so he'd stopped trying. It was easier to just focus on work and Emma and getting through each day. He didn't let himself think about green eyes and expensive coats, and a woman named Rachel who'd looked at him like he mattered. Rachel was having similar thoughts in her penthouse, though her circumstances were vastly different. She'd come home late from another long day and made herself a salad she barely tasted while standing at her kitchen counter. The apartment echoed with emptiness. Her phone rang. Her mother. "Rachel, darling, we need to talk about the Palmer wedding." "Hello, Mother. I'm fine. Thanks for asking." "How are you?" Don't be sarcastic. It's unbecoming. "Now I've spoken with David Palmer and he has a son who's just moved back to town. Investment banker, very successful. I thought you two could go to the wedding together. No, Rachel, you can't keep showing up to these events alone. People talk. Let them talk. You're 32 years old. You should be thinking about marriage, about family. You can't marry your company. Rachel closed her eyes. This was an old argument. I'm not interested in being set up with David Palmer's investment banker son. I'm perfectly capable of meeting people on my own. Really? Because from where I'm standing, you're not meeting anyone at all. You're working yourself into an early grave and pushing away every eligible man in the city. I have to go, Mother. I have a conference call. At 9 o'clock at night. Goodbye, Mother. She hung up before her mother could protest further. Then she poured herself a glass of wine and stood by her windows, looking out at the glittering city lights. Her mother wasn't entirely wrong. She was married to her work. It was easier than risking her heart on men who ultimately disappointed her. Men who saw her net worth before they saw her. Men who wanted to be with the CEO of Rivers Corporation, not Rachel, the woman who liked old movies and Thai food, and sometimes felt crushingly lonely. She thought about the last man she'd dated seriously. Gregory, a lawyer. It had taken her 6 months to realize he was more interested in the networking opportunities she provided than in her. The breakup had been ugly. He'd accused her of being cold and unavailable. Maybe he'd been right. But she hadn't felt cold when Dominic had looked at her in that parking lot. She'd felt seen. Really seen, maybe for the first time in years. She was being ridiculous, Rachel told herself. Building up a 5-minute interaction into something meaningful because she was lonely and frustrated with her life. Dominic Reynolds was a stranger. He probably hadn't thought about her once since that day, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. Tuesday morning brought more snow. Not the heavy storm of the previous week, but steady flakes that made the world look soft and white. Dominic drove Emma to school, the truck's heater still broken, both of them bundled in extra layers. Stay warm, princess, he said as she climbed out. You too, Daddy. At the job site, Frank was in a good mood. The project was ahead of schedule and the client was happy. Keep this up and there's a bonus in it for you guys, he announced at the morning meeting. A bonus. That could mean a lot of things. New boots, since his were falling apart. Maybe a nice dinner out with Emma, somewhere other than the pizza place with the dollar menu. Maybe even getting ahead on rent instead of just scraping by. Dominic worked harder than ever, fueled by hope and determination. The morning passed in a blur of productivity. At lunch, instead of sitting in the break room, he walked to the convenience store 2 blocks away to get a hot coffee and warm up. He was walking back when he saw her. Rachel was standing outside an office building, looking at her phone with a frustrated expression. She wore a different expensive coat today, black wool instead of camel, and heels that were only slightly more practical than the ones from the parking lot. Dominic slowed, uncertain. Should he say something? She probably didn't even remember him. But then she looked up and her eyes met his and her whole face changed. Brightened. Dominic, she said, and she remembered his name. She'd remembered. Hi, he said, suddenly aware of his work clothes and the sawdust probably in his hair. How are you? Better now. I mean, better than the last time you saw me. A slight flush colored her cheeks. No shopping bag disasters today, he smiled. Glad to hear it. You get some better shoes, I see. She glanced down at her feet. Only slightly better. I'm beginning to think I just don't have winter figured out. It's not that complicated. Boots. Warm, practical boots. Is that what you recommend? There was something playful in her tone, something warm. That's my professional opinion as someone who grew up here. I grew up here too, Rachel said. But I've spent so much time in offices and boardrooms, I think I've forgotten how to deal with actual weather. There was a pause, comfortable but charged with something Dominic couldn't quite name. He should probably get back to work, but he didn't want to leave. Listen, Rachel said, and she seemed almost nervous. This is probably forward, but would you want to get coffee sometime? I'd like to properly thank you for helping me the other day. Dominic's mind raced. Coffee, with this woman who was clearly out of his league in every possible way. who probably lived in one of those fancy high-rises downtown, who wore clothes that cost more than his rent, but who had remembered his name, who was looking at him with something like hope in those green eyes. "I'd like that," he heard himself say, "but I've got a daughter, Emma. She's 7. So my schedule is kind of complicated." Why had he led with that? Most women heard, "I have a kid," and immediately lost interest, but he needed to be upfront about it. Emma was the most important part of his life, and anyone who couldn't understand that wasn't worth his time. Rachel's expression softened. "The little girl in the truck that day, is she okay? She looked sick." She'd noticed Emma, she'd paid attention. "She's fine now, just a fever, but yeah, she's my priority, always." "Of course she is." Rachel pulled out her phone. "Could I get your number?" "Maybe we could figure out a time that works?" He gave her his number, and she sent him a text so he'd have hers. Her fingers moved over her phone with practiced efficiency, perfectly manicured nails flashing. "I have meetings the rest of the week," Rachel said, "but maybe this weekend." Saturday afternoon. Saturday afternoon meant finding childcare, which meant asking his neighbor Mrs. Chen for a favor. But Mrs. Chen liked him, and Emma could play with her granddaughter. Saturday could work. "Great." Her smile was genuine, reaching her eyes. "I'll text you details." "Sounds good." He shifted his coffee to his other hand. "I should get back to work." "Of course, I should too." But neither of them moved for a moment. Finally, Dominic nodded and turned away. He could feel her watching him as he walked back toward the construction site. When he glanced back, she was still there, still looking, and when their eyes met, she gave a little wave. He waved back, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Anticipation. Hope. The flutter of possibility. Back at the site, he tried to focus on work, but his mind kept drifting. Coffee with Rachel. What would they even talk about? They had nothing in common. She was clearly successful, educated, sophisticated. He was a construction worker with a high school diploma and calloused hands, but she'd sought him out, had asked for his number, had smiled at him like he was someone worth knowing. His phone buzzed during his afternoon break. A text from an unknown number. "This is Rachel, looking forward to Saturday." He saved her number and texted back, "Me too." It was only later, after he'd picked up Emma from school and they were making dinner together, that he realized he had no idea what Rachel did for work. She'd mentioned boardrooms, which suggested something corporate. But beyond that, she was a mystery. "You're smiling a lot, Daddy," Emma observed as she helped him set the table. "Am I?" "Yep, did something good happen?" "Maybe I met someone. A woman, we're going to have coffee on Saturday." Emma's eyes went wide. "Like a date?" "Maybe, I don't know, just coffee." "Is she nice?" "I think so. I don't know her very well yet." "Is she pretty?" Dominic thought about green eyes and dark hair and a smile that had made something warm bloom in his chest. "Yeah, she's pretty." "Does she like kids?" "I don't know, Em, but if we keep seeing each other, she'll have to." "Because you're the most important person in my life, and that's not changing for anyone." Emma seemed satisfied with this answer. She went back to setting out the forks with serious concentration. Then she said, "I hope she's nice to you, Daddy. You deserve someone nice." His heart squeezed. How had he gotten so lucky with this kid? "Thanks, Princess." That night, Dominic found himself actually caring about what he wore on Saturday. His wardrobe was limited, work clothes mostly, and one pair of decent jeans. He had a button-down shirt he'd worn to Emma's school conferences. That would have to do. He was getting ahead of himself, he knew. This was one coffee date. Probably nothing would come of it. Rachel would realize he was just a regular guy with no money and a complicated life, and she'd politely disappear. That was how these things went. But still. It felt good to have something to look forward to. Rachel was having similar thoughts in her penthouse, though from a very different angle. She'd asked him out. Actually approached him and asked for his number like some kind of bold, romantic comedy heroine. She never did things like that. Her assistant Marcus was giving her a knowing look when she came back from her lunch break. "What?" she asked. "You're smiling." "I smile. Not like that, not the professional CEO smile. That's a real smile." She tried to school her expression. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. It wouldn't have anything to do with the very attractive guy I saw you talking to outside, would it? Marcus, don't you have work to do? Tons. But this is more interesting. Who is he? Rachel sat at her desk, trying to regain her composure. Just someone I met. We're having coffee on Saturday. Good. You need to get out more. When was your last date? I don't need you to manage my social life. Clearly you do, because you don't have one. But Marcus said it with affection. I'm happy for you, Rachel. You deserve to have some fun. Fun. Was that what this was? It felt more significant than fun. It felt like standing on the edge of something important. The week progressed. Dominic worked hard, came home tired, spent his evenings with Emma. But Saturday was always there in the back of his mind, a promise of something different. On Wednesday, Rachel texted. There's a coffee shop on Madison called The Grind. Does 2 p.m. work? He texted back. Perfect. On Thursday, he told Emma about needing to go out on Saturday afternoon. She immediately asked if she could play with Sarah, Mrs. Chen's granddaughter. If Mrs. Chen says it's okay, then yes. Mrs. Chen, when asked, was delighted. Of course, Dominic. Emma's always welcome. You go have fun on your date. It's just coffee, he protested, but Mrs. Chen just smiled knowingly. Friday dragged by, the work seeming longer than usual. Frank noticed his distraction and called him out on it. You okay, Dom? You seem somewhere else today. Sorry, boss. Just got something on my mind. Well, get your mind back on the job before you hurt yourself. Whatever it is, it'll still be there after work. He was right. Dominic forced himself to focus, to be present. Construction sites were dangerous places for distracted workers. When he picked up Emma that afternoon, she was practically bouncing with excitement. Tomorrow's your coffee date? Yep. Did you pick out what you're wearing? I'm working on it. You should wear your blue shirt. It makes your eyes look nice. He looked at his 7-year-old daughter with amusement. When did you become a fashion expert? I know things, Daddy. That night, after Emma was asleep, Dominic stood in front of his closet and felt ridiculous. He was 34 years old, not some nervous teenager. But his hands were actually shaking slightly as he pulled out the blue shirt Emma had mentioned. He tried it on, looked at himself in the bathroom mirror. The shirt was a few years old but still fit well. He looked tired, he thought. The last few years had left lines around his eyes. His hands were rough, his shoulders broad from physical labor. He wasn't what someone like Rachel probably expected, but he was doing his best. That had to count for something. Saturday morning, Emma helped him get ready like she was preparing him for battle. Don't forget to smile, she instructed, and ask her questions about herself. People like when you're interested in them. Where are you getting this stuff? Mrs. Patterson, read us a book about manners. He bent down and kissed the top of her head. You're pretty smart, you know that? I know. At 1:30, he walked Emma over to Mrs. Chen's apartment. Sarah immediately dragged Emma off to play with dolls, and Mrs. Chen gave Dominic an encouraging pat on the arm. You look very nice, Dominic. Have a good time. Thanks, I'll be back by 5. Take your time. Emma's fine here. He drove to The Grind, which was a local coffee shop he'd passed 100 times but never been inside. It looked warm and inviting, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. Through the window, he could see Rachel already sitting at a table near the back. She looked beautiful. She wore jeans and a soft-looking sweater, and her hair was down around her shoulders. She looked younger like this, more relaxed than she had in her business clothes. Dominic took a deep breath and went inside. Rachel saw him immediately and stood up, smiling. Hi. Hi. He felt awkward suddenly, unsure whether to hug her or shake her hand or what. He settled for a small wave that felt incredibly dorky, but Rachel just gestured to the chair across from her. I got here early. What can I get you? Oh, I can get my own. Please. You helped me haul about 50 pounds of groceries through a snowstorm. The least I can do is buy you a coffee. It wasn't 50 pounds. It felt like 50 pounds in those shoes. He smiled and told her his order. She went to the counter and came back a few minutes later with a regular coffee for him and something complicated and foamy for herself. So, she said, settling into her chair. Tell me about yourself, Dominic Reynolds. Where to even start? Not much to tell, I work construction. I have a daughter, Emma, who you saw that day. It's mostly just us. Emma's mother left 3 years ago. We're divorced. I'm sorry, he shrugged. It's for the best. She wasn't happy. No point in making someone stay who doesn't want to be there. Rachel nodded, and something in her expression suggested she understood complicated relationship endings. What about you? Dominic asked, remembering Emma's advice about asking questions. What do you do? You mentioned boardrooms. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I run a company. Tech sector. That sounds impressive. It's demanding, challenging, sometimes exhausting. Do you like it? No one ever asked her that, Rachel realized. They asked how the company was doing, what the growth projections were, whether the latest product launch was successful. But they never asked if she actually enjoyed it. I used to, she said honestly. Lately, I've been feeling a bit burned out. That's tough. Can you take a break? She laughed, but it sounded a bit hollow. Not really. When you're the CEO, there's always something that needs attention. You're a CEO. Dominic looked genuinely surprised. Wow, and here I am covered in sawdust. I don't see any sawdust. I cleaned up, but it's usually there. They both smiled, and some of the tension eased. The conversation started to flow more naturally. Dominic told her about the renovation project he was working on, about how satisfying it was to transform old spaces into something new. Rachel talked about the challenges of managing a company in a rapidly changing industry, but they also talked about smaller things. Favorite foods. Books they'd read, whether winter or summer was better. Winter, Rachel said. Everything looks clean and new after a snowfall. Summer, Dominic countered, because I work outside and frostbite is not fun. Fair point, an hour passed, then another. The coffee shop filled up and emptied out around them, but they stayed at their table, talking. Dominic found himself relaxing, forgetting to be nervous. Rachel was smart and funny, and she listened when he spoke. Really listened, not just waiting for her turn to talk. Rachel felt something she hadn't felt in years, connection. Real, genuine connection with someone who didn't want anything from her except her company. Can I ask you something? Rachel said eventually. Why did you help me that day? In the parking lot, Dominic thought about it. You needed help. I could help. It wasn't complicated. Most people would have just walked by. Maybe, but my mom raised me to help people when I can, and you looked like you were about to cry, which seemed like a situation that required intervention. I was about to cry, Rachel admitted. It had been a really bad day, and then the snow and my ridiculous shoes, and I just felt so incompetent. You didn't look incompetent. You looked frustrated. There's a difference. She smiled at him across the table. Thank you for that day and for today. I should be thanking you. I don't get out much. This is nice. It is nice. She checked her phone and looked surprised. It's almost 4:30. I didn't realize we'd been talking so long. Dominic was surprised too. The time had flown by. He needed to get back to Emma, but he didn't want this to end. Can we do this again? Rachel asked, and there was vulnerability in her voice that made his heart skip. I'd like that. Good. She stood, and so did he. I'll text you. Outside the coffee shop, they stood in the cold afternoon air, neither quite ready to say goodbye. Snow was falling lightly, dusting Rachel's dark hair with white flakes. I had a really good time, she said. Me too. Your daughter's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her. Rachel reached out and squeezed his hand briefly. Even through their gloves, he felt the warmth of the contact. Then she turned and walked to her car, and he watched her drive away before heading to his own truck. Back at Mrs. Chen's, Emma was full of questions. How was it? Did you have fun? Is she nice? Are you going to see her again? Slow down, Dominic laughed. Yes, it was good. Yes, she's nice. And yes, I think we'll see each other again. Emma hugged him tight. I'm glad, Daddy. That night, his phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. I really enjoyed today. Thank you for making time in your busy schedule, he texted back. Thank you for coffee and the company. Her response came quickly. When can I see you again? His heart did a little flip. She wanted to see him again. This was really happening. They texted back and forth, trying to figure out schedules. Rachel had business dinners most weeknights next week. Dominic had work during the day and Emma in the evenings. Finding time was complicated. Finally, Rachel wrote, "What if you brought Emma? We could do something she'd enjoy. I'd like to meet her." Dominic stared at his phone. Bringing Emma meant this was getting more serious. Meant Rachel wasn't running from the reality of his situation. But it also meant risking Emma getting attached to someone who might not stick around. He thought about it carefully before responding. "Are you sure? 7-year-olds are a lot." "I'm sure." "If she's important to you, then she's someone I want to know." How could he say no to that? They made plans for the following Sunday. Rachel suggested the Children's Museum, which Emma loved but which Dominic could rarely afford to take her to. He felt awkward about Rachel paying, but she insisted it was her idea. The week passed in a blur of work and anticipation. Dominic found himself texting with Rachel in the evenings after Emma went to bed. Short messages at first, then longer conversations. She told him about her day, the frustrations and small victories. He told her about the renovation project, about Emma's school play rehearsals. They were getting to know each other, building something through these late-night messages. And with each conversation, Dominic felt himself falling a little more. On Wednesday, Rachel texted, "Crazy day, board meeting went late, feel like I'm just spinning my wheels." He wrote back, "Tomorrow's a new day, you'll figure it out. You seem like someone who always does." Her response, "Thank you, I needed to hear that. How's your project going? Good, we're ahead of schedule, boss is happy." "That's great, you should be proud." It was a simple exchange, but it meant something. Having someone to talk to at the end of the day, someone who cared about the mundane details of your life. Dominic had forgotten how good that felt. Emma noticed the change in him. On Friday night, while they were watching a movie together, she said, "You're texting a lot." "Sorry." "I'll put the phone away." "Is it Rachel?" "Yeah, you really like her, don't you?" Dominic looked at his daughter, her face lit by the glow of the TV. "I think I do. Is that okay with you?" Emma considered this seriously. "Does she make you happy?" "She does." "Then it's okay." "I want you to be happy, Daddy." He pulled her close, overwhelmed by love for this little person who worried about his happiness. "You make me happy, kiddo. Always." Sunday arrived with clear skies and bitter cold. Dominic dressed Emma in her warmest clothes and gave her a talking to in the truck before they left. "Remember your manners. Say please and thank you. Don't run off without telling me where you're going." "I know, Daddy. I'm not a baby." "I know you're not. But we're meeting Rachel, and I want you to be on your best behavior." "Is this like a test, to see if she likes me?" "No, well, maybe a little, but it's also for you to see if you like her, because if we keep seeing each other, she'll be part of our lives." Emma nodded solemnly. "Okay. I'll be good." They met Rachel in the museum parking lot. She was already there, standing by her car, and she smiled when she saw them. She wore practical boots today, and Dominic noticed with amusement. "You took my advice," he said, pointing to her feet. She laughed. "Best decision I've made all week. Hi, Emma, I'm Rachel." Emma looked up at her with curious eyes. "Hi, you're really pretty." Rachel blushed. "Thank you, you're pretty too. I love your pink coat." "It's my favorite. Daddy got it for my birthday." He has good taste. Inside the museum, Emma's initial shyness melted away. She dragged them from exhibit to exhibit, her excitement contagious. Rachel engaged with her genuinely, asking questions and listening to Emma's explanations about dinosaurs and space and ancient Egypt. Dominic hung back slightly, watching them interact. Rachel didn't talk down to Emma. She treated her like a person with thoughts and opinions worth hearing. Emma responded by opening up, chattering away about her interests and school and her friends. At the water table exhibit, Emma got thoroughly soaked and giggled uncontrollably. Rachel helped her dry off, gently wiping her face with paper towels while Emma explained the science of water displacement. "You're really smart," Rachel said. "Do you like school?" "Mostly. I don't like math much." "But I love reading." Me too. What's your favorite book? Emma launched into a detailed description of a fantasy series she was reading, and Rachel listened attentively. Dominic felt something shift in his chest. This was working. They were working. After the museum, they went to a family restaurant nearby. Emma ordered chicken fingers and proceeded to tell Rachel everything about her life. Her friends, her teacher, the boy Tyler who'd brought a lizard to school. And what about your dad? Rachel asked. Is he a good dad? Emma looked at Dominic with complete sincerity. He's the best dad. He takes care of me when I'm sick, and he reads to me every night, and he makes me laugh. And he works really hard so we can have a good life. Dominic's throat felt tight. Thanks, princess. It's true. Emma turned back to Rachel. Do you have kids? No, I don't. Do you want kids? Emma, Dominic said gently. That's kind of personal, but Rachel smiled. It's okay, I never really thought about it before. I've been so focused on work. But lately, I've been thinking maybe I've been missing out on some important things. She looked at Dominic as she said it, and the moment stretched between them, heavy with meaning. After lunch, Emma asked if they could go to the park. Rachel looked to Dominic. If you have time, he asked. I have time. At the park, Emma ran off to play on the equipment. Dominic and Rachel stood by the fence, watching her. She's wonderful, Rachel said. You've done an amazing job with her. She makes it easy. Well, most of the time. Can I ask what happened with her mother? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Dominic watched Emma swing across the monkey bars. Kelly was young when we got married. We both were. I was 27, she was 24. Emma came along a year later and Kelly just wasn't ready. She tried, I'll give her that. But she was miserable. One day she just said she couldn't do it anymore. She left and I got divorce papers a month later. Does she see Emma? No, she sends a card on her birthday. That's it. That must have been hard for both of you. It was harder for Emma, not having a mom. But we've figured it out. It's just us and we're doing okay. Rachel turned to look at him. You're doing more than okay. You're raising a smart, kind, confident little girl all by yourself. That's not easy. You don't think it's weird? Single dad, baggage, complicated life. I think it's honest and real and much more appealing than the alternative. What's the alternative? Men who are more interested in my company than in me. Men who see me as a network opportunity or a status symbol. Men who disappear when they realize I actually have my own opinions and goals. That sounds lonely. It is. She said it simply, without self-pity, just a statement of fact. Dominic reached out and took her hand. She looked down at their joined hands in surprise, then back up at his face. I like you, Rachel. I don't know what you see in a guy like me, but I really like you. I see someone kind, someone genuine. Someone who helped a stranger in a parking lot and didn't want anything in return. Someone who's a great father and a hard worker, and who makes me feel like a normal person instead of a walking resume. You are a normal person. Sometimes I forget that. Emma came running over, breathless and pink-cheeked. Did you see me on the slide? I went down backwards. I saw, Dominic said. Very impressive. Emma looked at their joined hands and smiled. Are you guys dating now? Rachel laughed. Is that okay with you? Yeah, you're nice. And you didn't get mad when I got water all over your sweater at the museum. It's just a sweater, it'll dry. See, Daddy, she's practical. The three of them walked back to the parking lot as the sun started to set. Emma held Dominic's hand on one side and after a moment's hesitation, reached for Rachel's on the other. Rachel looked surprised, then touched. She took Emma's hand gently, and they walked like that, a makeshift family, through the cold evening air. At their cars, Emma hugged Rachel goodbye. Thank you for taking us to the museum. It was really fun. Thank you for letting me come along. I had the best time. After Emma was buckled into Dominic's truck, he lingered by Rachel's car. Today was perfect, he said. It really was. She looked up at him, and the air between them felt charged. Can I see you again, soon? Definitely, though I have to figure out the childcare thing. What if I came to you? I could bring dinner one night this week. We could hang out at your place, all three of us. My place is pretty small, nothing fancy. I don't care about fancy, Dominic. I care about spending time with you and Emma. He wanted to kiss her. The urge was strong, pulling him forward. But Emma was in the truck watching, and this felt too new, too fragile to rush. So he just squeezed Rachel's hand and said, "Thursday, around 6? Perfect. I'll text you." He drove home with Emma, chattering about the museum and the park and how nice Rachel was. But his mind was on the woman he'd just left, and the way she'd looked at him like he was someone special. That night, after Emma was asleep, his phone rang. Rachel, not texting but actually calling. "Hi," she said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. "I hope it's not too late." "It's not. I'm just sitting here thinking about today. Me too. I can't remember the last time I had that much fun." "Emma loved you." "I loved her. She's such a great kid, Dominic. You should be so proud." "I am." There was a pause, comfortable and warm. Then Rachel said, "Can I tell you something? Anything." "I was really nervous today, about meeting Emma, about whether I'd know how to interact with a kid. I've spent so much time in the business world, I wasn't sure I could just be a regular person. You were great, natural. It helped that she's easy to talk to, and that you were there. I'm glad you came. Emma asked me after if you were going to be her new mom." Rachel drew in a sharp breath. "What did you tell her?" "I told her it's too early to know that, but that I really like you and want to keep getting to know you." "That's a good answer." "What would you have said?" Rachel was quiet for a moment. "I would have said that I'm not trying to replace her mother, but that I care about her dad very much and would be honored to be part of her life in whatever way feels right." Dominic felt his heart expand. "You really mean that?" "I do. I know this is fast. We barely know each other. But I feel something here, Dominic. Something I haven't felt before, like all the pieces are finally fitting together." "I feel it too." They talked for another hour about everything and nothing. Rachel told him about her childhood, growing up with parents who had high expectations. Dominic told her about his own parents, his dad who'd worked construction until a back injury forced him into retirement, his mom who'd passed away 5 years ago from cancer. By the time they hung up, it was after midnight. Dominic felt exhausted and energized at the same time. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process the fact that this was really happening. That someone like Rachel was interested in someone like him. The next few days dragged by. Work was busy, which helped. The renovation project was entering a critical phase, requiring all of Dominic's concentration. But during breaks, he'd check his phone and find messages from Rachel. "Hope you're having a good day. Emma told me about her math test. She's so smart. Can't wait for Thursday." Each message made him smile. His coworkers noticed. "You've got a lady," Mike said knowingly. "About time, Dom. Maybe, no maybe about it. You're walking around with that dopey smile. It's a lady for sure." Dominic didn't deny it. Why would he? He was happy, genuinely happy, in a way he hadn't been in years. On Wednesday, Rachel called him during lunch. "I need your advice," she said without preamble. "Okay. What does Emma like to eat? I'm planning dinner for tomorrow, and I want to make sure there's something she'll enjoy." The fact that Rachel was thinking about Emma's preferences made his chest warm. "She's pretty easy. She likes pasta, chicken, most vegetables if they're not mushy. She's not a fan of spicy food." "Perfect. I can work with that. What about you?" "I'll eat anything." Seriously, after years of cooking for a kid, adult food all tastes good. Rachel laughed. "Okay, I'll surprise you then. You don't have to go to a lot of trouble." "It's not trouble. I want to do this." Thursday couldn't come fast enough. Dominic cleaned the apartment thoroughly, which made Emma curious. "Why are we cleaning so much?" she asked. "Rachel's coming over for dinner, remember?" "Oh yeah, are you nervous?" "A little. Our place isn't very fancy." Emma looked around their small living room with its second-hand furniture and worn carpet. "It's nice, though. It's home." Out of the mouths of babes, Dominic thought, she was right. This was their home. It might not be much, but it was clean and safe and full of love. If Rachel couldn't see past the lack of luxury, then she wasn't the person he thought she was. At 6 o'clock exactly, there was a knock on the door. Emma ran to answer it, and Dominic followed. Rachel stood in the hallway holding bags of groceries and a bottle of wine. She dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked young and approachable and absolutely beautiful. "Hi," she said, a bit breathlessly. "I might have gone overboard with the food." "Come in," Dominic said, taking some of the bags from her. Rachel stepped into the apartment and looked around. Dominic tried to see it through her eyes. The furniture was old but clean. Emma's artwork covered the refrigerator. There were photos everywhere of Emma at various ages, of Dominic and Emma together. "It's wonderful," Rachel said softly. "It feels like a real home." "It's not much. It's perfect." Emma gave Rachel a tour, showing her their small space with pride, her bedroom with its pink walls and glow-in-the-dark stars, the bathroom where she pointed out her step stool, the living room where they watched movies together. Rachel listened attentively, asking questions and complimenting Emma's drawing skills evident in the framed pictures on the walls. In the kitchen, which was barely big enough for 2 people, Rachel started unpacking groceries. She'd brought ingredients for chicken parmesan, a salad and garlic bread, plus chocolate chip cookies for dessert. "Can I help?" Dominic asked. "You can keep me company. Emma, do you want to help?" The 3 of them worked together in the small kitchen, which somehow made it feel cozy rather than cramped. Rachel let Emma help bread the chicken, patiently showing her how to do it. Emma concentrated seriously on the task, her tongue poking out slightly. "You're a natural," Rachel said. "Daddy and I cook together a lot. He's teaching me." "That's important. My dad never taught me to cook. I had to learn as an adult." They ate dinner at the small table, Emma chattering about her day at school. Rachel asked questions and laughed at Emma's stories, and Dominic felt that same sense of rightness he'd felt at the park, like they fit together. After dinner, Emma asked if Rachel wanted to see her favorite movie. "I'd love to," Rachel said. They all settled on the couch, Emma in the middle. Halfway through the movie, Emma fell asleep, her head on Rachel's shoulder. Rachel looked down at her with such tenderness that Dominic's breath caught. "She's out," Rachel whispered. "She had a busy day." He carefully picked Emma up. "Let me put her to bed. I'll be right back." He carried Emma to her room, changed her into pajamas while she stayed mostly asleep, and tucked her in. When he came back to the living room, Rachel was looking at the photos on the wall. "She looks like you," Rachel said, pointing to a picture of baby Emma. "Poor kid." "Don't say that." "You're very handsome." He felt himself flush. "Thanks." Rachel turned to face him. "Thank you for letting me into your home, into your life. Thank you for wanting to be here." They sat back down on the couch, closer this time without Emma between them. The movie was still playing, but neither of them was watching it. "Can I ask you something?" Rachel said. "And you can tell me if I'm overstepping. Go ahead." "What are you looking for? In a relationship, I mean, because I need to know if we're on the same page." Dominic thought about it carefully. "I want a partner, someone who understands that Emma comes first, but who also wants to build something with me, someone honest and kind, someone who's in it for the long haul, not just until things get hard." "That's what I want too. I want something real. I've spent so much of my life focused on success and achievement, and I've realized that none of it means anything if you don't have someone to share it with." She paused. "I'm not good at being vulnerable. My whole career has been about projecting confidence and strength. But with you, I feel like I can just be myself. You can, always. I really like you, Dominic, and I really like Emma, and I know this is fast, but I think this could be something important." "I think so too." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. She leaned into his touch, her eyes closing briefly. When she opened them, they were bright with emotion. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. "Please." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind, but she met him halfway, her lips soft against his. The kiss was gentle and sweet, a question and an answer at the same time. When they pulled apart, Rachel was smiling. "That was nice." "Yeah, it was." They kissed again, longer this time. Dominic felt like a teenager, making out on his couch, but it felt right. Everything with Rachel felt right. Eventually, Rachel checked her phone and sighed. "I should go, it's getting late. I don't want you to leave." "I don't want to leave, but you have work in the morning and I have meetings all day tomorrow." At the door, they kissed again. "When can I see you?" Dominic asked. "This weekend." "Maybe we could take Emma somewhere fun again. She'd love that." After Rachel left, Dominic leaned against the door and smiled up at the ceiling. He was falling for her. Hard. And the amazing thing was, she seemed to be falling for him too. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Rachel would come over for dinner once or twice a week. On weekends, they'd do things as a trio. The zoo, ice skating, where Rachel proved to be terrible on skates and laughed at herself with good humor. A trip to a children's theater production where Emma sat enraptured. They were building something, the three of them. A relationship that felt natural and right. Emma adored Rachel, and Rachel was wonderful with Emma. Patient and fun and genuinely interested in what Emma had to say, but they kept their physical relationship relatively chaste. Kisses goodbye. Hand-holding. Nothing more, partly because Emma was always around, but also because they both seemed to understand that this was too important to rush. Dominic told Frank about Rachel. "She's great, boss. Really great." "That's wonderful, Dom. You deserve someone good," he told Mrs. Chen, who was thrilled. "It's about time you found someone. You bring her by so I can meet her properly." He even told his dad during their weekly phone call. His father, who'd been worried about him being alone, was delighted. "If she makes you happy, son, then I'm happy." Rachel, meanwhile, told Marcus, who was her closest friend despite being her assistant. "He's the one," she said simply. "I know it's fast, but Marcus, I've never felt like this before." "Then hold on to him. Good men are rare." She didn't tell her mother yet. Her mother would have opinions about Rachel dating a construction worker, opinions Rachel wasn't ready to hear. She'd tell her eventually, but for now, this was her precious secret. At work, Rachel found herself daydreaming, which was completely unlike her. She'd be in meetings and think about the way Dominic smiled at her, the way he was so gentle with Emma, the way he made her feel seen and valued for who she was, not what she could do for someone. She was falling in love. The realization hit her one night when she was working late. She was falling in love with Dominic Reynolds, a single father with a complicated life and no money and the kindest heart she'd ever encountered. It should have scared her. Instead, it felt like coming home. One Saturday in early December, about 6 weeks after they'd first met, Rachel invited Dominic and Emma to her apartment. It was time to let them into that part of her life, too. Emma's eyes went wide when they pulled up to the luxury high-rise. "Wow, Rachel lives here." "Apparently," Dominic said, feeling a bit overwhelmed himself. The doorman greeted Rachel by name and directed them to the elevator. They rode up to the top floor, and when Rachel opened the door to her penthouse, Emma actually gasped. "It's like a castle." The apartment was beautiful. Hardwood floors, modern furniture, those floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It was tastefully decorated but somehow impersonal, like a hotel room rather than a home. "This is amazing," Dominic said, but he felt uneasy. This was Rachel's world. Wealth and luxury and a lifestyle he couldn't even begin to afford. What was he doing here? Rachel seemed to sense his discomfort. "I know it's a lot. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a hotel rather than a home." "Why?" Emma asked with the bluntness of a child. "Good question." "I think because I spend so much time at work, I never really made this place feel lived in." "You need more pictures," Emma declared, "and colors. It's too white." Rachel laughed. "You're absolutely right. Want to help me fix it?" They spent the afternoon making Rachel's apartment feel more like a home. Emma drew pictures that Rachel immediately framed and hung up. They rearranged the furniture to feel more inviting. Rachel showed them her tiny balcony where she grew herbs, and Emma planted some seeds in empty pots. Dominic watched Rachel interact with his daughter and felt his heart swell. Rachel was wealthy, successful, brilliant, but with Emma, she was just herself, playful and warm and real. As the sun set, They ordered pizza and ate it sitting on the floor in Rachel's living room because Emma declared it was more fun that way. Rachel went along with it without hesitation, her expensive pants getting dusted with crumbs. After Emma fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from the day's activities, Dominic and Rachel sat by the windows, looking out at the city lights. "I love her," Rachel said quietly. "Emma, I hope that's okay to say." Dominic's throat felt tight. "It's more than okay. And I love you." She turned to face him. "I know it's fast, and maybe I shouldn't say it yet, but I do. I love you, Dominic. I love you too." The words came easily, naturally. "I've been falling for you since that day in the parking lot." They kissed, deeper this time, more urgent. But Emma was just in the next room, and they pulled apart reluctantly. "I want a future with you," Rachel said. "With both of you. I know we have things to figure out. Logistics and timing and all of that. But I need you to know that this isn't casual for me. You and Emma, you've become everything." "Same. You've changed our lives, Rachel. Everything's brighter now." "We should probably talk about the practical stuff," Rachel said. "The fact that I'm a CEO and you're a construction worker, the money difference, how we navigate that." "I've been worried about that," Dominic admitted. "I can't give you the lifestyle you're used to." "I don't want you to. I have money. What I didn't have was someone to love who loves me back. That's what you've given me. That's what matters. People will talk. Let them. I don't care. Your family might not approve." "My family doesn't get a vote in who I love." Dominic pulled her close, holding her against his chest. "You're sure about this, about us? Because once Emma gets more attached, I can't let her be hurt. I'm sure. I have never been more sure of anything." They stayed like that, wrapped up in each other, until Emma stirred and they had to pull apart. Dominic carried his sleeping daughter down to his truck, while Rachel watched from her window, a small smile on her face. The next morning, Rachel did something she'd been putting off. She called her mother. "Rachel, darling, I was beginning to think you'd forgotten you had family." "Sorry, Mother, I've been busy." "You're always busy. When are you coming for dinner? Your father and I barely see you anymore." "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something." "I'm seeing someone." There was a pause. "Really? Who?" "His name is Dominic Reynolds. He's a construction worker and he has a 7-year-old daughter. And before you say anything, I'm happy, really happy." Another pause, longer this time. "A construction worker." "Yes." "Rachel, are you sure this is wise? You have a position to maintain." "I'm in love with him, Mother, and I love his daughter. They're good people." "I'm sure they are, but think about the optics. The board, the investors, they expect a certain image from their CEO. Then they'll have to adjust their expectations. I'm not giving up Dominic because of what other people might think." Her mother sighed. "You've always been stubborn. Can we at least meet him? Your father and I—" "Of course, I want you to meet him, but you need to come into it with an open mind." "I'll try, for you." It wasn't the enthusiastic approval Rachel had hoped for, but it was something. She'd deal with her parents' prejudices when she had to. Right now, she just wanted to enjoy what she had with Dominic and Emma. December brought colder weather and the holidays. Dominic and Emma always spent Christmas simply. A small tree from the discount lot, gifts that were more practical than extravagant, dinner at home. Rachel asked what their traditions were, and when Dominic told her, she immediately wanted to be part of it. "Can I take you Christmas shopping?" She asked Emma. "I'd love to help you pick out something special for your dad." Emma agreed enthusiastically. They went on a Saturday while Dominic was working, just the two of them. Rachel took Emma to the mall, and they spent hours looking at everything. Emma eventually decided on a new toolbox for her dad since his old one was falling apart. "He works so hard," Emma said seriously. "He deserves something nice." "He really does," Rachel agreed. They also looked at toys for Emma. Rachel wanted to buy her everything she pointed at, but she held back, remembering Dominic's pride. Instead, she asked Emma what she really wanted. "I want a bike," Emma said, "but Daddy says they're too expensive." Rachel made a mental note. A bike would be her gift to Emma. At lunch, Emma asked, "Are you going to marry my daddy?" Rachel nearly choked on her drink. "That's a big question." I hope you do. He's happier now, and I like having you around. I like being around. Your dad is very special to me, and so are you. Would you be my mom then? Rachel's heart clenched. I wouldn't try to replace your mom, but I would be someone who loves you and takes care of you and is always there for you. Is that okay? Emma thought about it. Yeah, that's okay. I don't really remember my other mom anyway. And Daddy says she's living a different life now. Your dad is a good man. He always tells you the truth, doesn't he? Always, even when it's hard. After shopping, Rachel drove Emma back to Dominic's apartment. Emma immediately hid her purchases in her room, and Rachel helped her wrap them while Dominic was still at work. When Dominic got home, dirty and tired from the job site, he found Rachel and Emma giggling together over some shared joke. The sight of them, his two favorite people in the world, made everything else fade away. "What are you two up to?" he asked suspiciously. "Nothing," they said in unison, then dissolved into laughter again. That night, after Emma was in bed, Dominic asked Rachel about her own holiday plans. "My parents want us to come to their Christmas dinner," she said. "All of us. You, me, and Emma. Fair warning, they're not entirely on board with our relationship yet." "Maybe I shouldn't come then." "No, I want you there. I need you there. They'll come around once they meet you and Emma. You're both impossible not to love. I don't have anything nice to wear to a fancy dinner. You don't need anything fancy, just yourself." But Dominic felt the pressure anyway, meeting Rachel's parents, going to their home, which was undoubtedly as luxurious as Rachel's apartment. Being judged and found wanting. The week before Christmas, Dominic got his bonus from Frank. It was more than he'd expected, enough to catch up on bills and buy Emma a few nice presents, and even put some away for emergencies. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he was getting ahead instead of just treading water. He took Rachel to dinner, just the two of them, at a nice restaurant. Not too fancy, but nicer than anywhere he'd taken her before. He wanted to show her that he could provide, that he wasn't completely incapable of giving her a good time. Over dinner, Rachel reached across the table and took his hand. "I have something for you." "Rachel, we said no gifts yet." "It's not a gift, it's an offer." She took a breath. "Move in with me, you and Emma. My apartment is huge, plenty of room for all of us. Emma could have her own room, a better school district. You wouldn't have to worry about rent." Dominic felt like she'd punched him. "I can't let you do that." "Why not?" "Because I'm not a charity case. I take care of myself and my daughter." "That's not what this is. I'm not offering because I think you need rescuing. I'm offering because I love you and I want us to be a family. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to have breakfast with Emma before school. I want a life with you, Dominic, on your terms, in your place, with your money." Rachel's face fell. "That's not fair." He knew it wasn't. He was being defensive and proud. But the thought of being dependent on Rachel, of Emma growing up in luxury that he could never provide, of being the man who lived off his girlfriend's wealth, it made him feel sick. "I need to think about it," he said finally. The rest of the dinner was strained. They tried to recapture the earlier warmth, but the moment was broken. When he drove Rachel back to her apartment, she kissed him goodnight, but it felt hollow. "I love you," she said. "Please remember that. I love you too." But as he drove home, Dominic felt the weight of their differences pressing down on him. What was he thinking? That they could really make this work. She was a CEO with a penthouse and unlimited resources. He was a construction worker living paycheck to paycheck. How could that ever be equal? He didn't sleep much that night, and when Rachel texted him the next morning, he found himself responding with short, distant messages. Rachel felt the shift immediately. Dominic was pulling away. She'd pushed too hard with the moving an offer. She should have known it would touch his pride. She talked to Marcus about it. "I just wanted to make things easier for them. Was that so wrong?" "No, but you have to understand where he's coming from. He's been taking care of himself and his daughter alone for years. Accepting help probably feels like failure to him." "That's ridiculous." "It's male pride. It's not about logic." Rachel wanted to fix it, but she didn't know how. She tried calling Dominic, but he said he was busy with work. She suggested getting together over the weekend, but he said Emma had a friend's birthday party. A week before Christmas, they still hadn't resolved things. Rachel was miserable, and Marcus said Dominic looked like he hadn't slept in days. Finally, Emma called Rachel. "Can you come over? Daddy's being weird and sad, and I think it's about you." "I'll be right there." She drove straight from work, still in her business suit. When Dominic opened the door, he looked surprised. "Emma called me," Rachel said. "We need to talk." "Emma shouldn't have done that. I'm glad she did." Rachel walked in without waiting for an invitation. Emma waved from her bedroom and then pointedly closed the door to give them privacy. "Smart kid," Rachel said. "Now, are you going to tell me what's really going on?" Dominic sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. "I don't know if I can do this, Rachel." Her heart dropped. "What do you mean?" Us, you're so far out of my league. You live in a penthouse. You run a billion-dollar company. What am I? A construction worker who can barely afford Christmas presents for his kid. You're the man I love. That's not enough. Eventually, you'll realize you could do so much better. Find someone who can actually give you things, someone who fits into your world. Rachel knelt in front of him, taking his hands in hers. "Look at me." When he did, she continued, "You're right. We come from different worlds, but I don't love your bank account or your job title. I love you. I love how kind you are, how you're such an amazing father, how you helped a stranger in a snowstorm without wanting anything in return. That's who you are. That's why I love you. I can't give you anything. You've given me everything that matters. Before I met you, I was lonely. I was successful and miserable and wondering what the point of any of it was. You've made me happier than I've ever been. You and Emma, you've given me a family, a home. Love, that's everything, Dominic. But the money is just money. Yes, I have it. That's not going to change. But that doesn't mean I don't need you. That doesn't mean you're less than me. We're partners, equal partners, and partners help each other out." Dominic was quiet for a long moment. "I hate feeling like I can't provide. You do provide. You provide love and stability and a safe home for Emma. You work hard every single day. That's providing, Dominic. Money is just one kind of resource. There are others that matter just as much. What if people judge us? Then they're not worth our time. The people who matter will see what I see. A good man who loves his daughter and is building a beautiful life. That's all that counts." Tears were running down Dominic's face now. I'm sorry I pulled away. I just got scared." "I know. And I'm sorry I pushed too hard with the moving in thing. We don't have to rush anything. We can take our time, figure things out as we go." "But I do want that. I want to wake up with you. I want to build a life together. I just need to figure out how to be okay with our differences." "Then we'll figure it out together, because I'm not giving up on us. You're stuck with me, Dominic Reynolds." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "I love you so much. I love you too." They stayed like that for a long time, just holding each other. Eventually, Emma emerged from her room. "Did you fix it?" she asked hopefully. "We fixed it," Rachel confirmed. Emma launched herself at both of them, and they all ended up in a group hug on the couch. This was what mattered, Rachel thought, not money or status or what anyone else thought. Just this, the three of them, together. Christmas at Rachel's parents' house was as intimidating as Dominic had feared. The house was a mansion in the nicest part of town, decorated professionally with a tree that had to be 12 feet tall. Rachel's mother, Patricia, greeted them at the door with a polished smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her father, Robert, was more welcoming but clearly reserving judgment. Emma was on her best behavior, using her please and thank yous and not touching anything. Dominic wore his one nice shirt and tried not to feel out of place. Dinner was formal, served on china that probably cost more than Dominic's truck. Patricia asked pointed questions about Dominic's career plans and whether he thought he could provide for a family. Rachel cut in. "Mother, Dominic is an excellent provider. He's raised Emma beautifully all on his own." "I'm sure he has, dear. I'm just thinking about the future." "The future is us together," Rachel said firmly. "Please respect that." Robert Rivers studied Dominic over his wine glass. "Tell me, young man, what are your intentions toward my daughter?" Dominic met his gaze steadily. "I love her, sir. I want to build a life with her. I want to be a good partner and make her happy." "Can you support her, Dad?" Rachel warned. "It's okay," Dominic said. "No, sir. I can't support her financially. She makes more in a week than I make in a year. But I can support her emotionally. I can be there for her, listen to her, love her. I can make sure she knows every day that she's valued for who she is, not what she does or what she has. I can give her a family who loves her unconditionally. That's what I can offer." The table was silent. Then Robert Rivers smiled, a real smile this time. "That's a good answer. My daughter is brilliant and capable and doesn't need anyone to support her financially. But she does need someone who loves her. If you can do that, then you have my blessing." Patricia looked less convinced, but she nodded stiffly. "Welcome to the family, then." After dinner, Emma charmed Rachel's parents by showing them a magic trick she'd learned at school. Patricia even laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. Driving home later, Emma asleep in the back seat, Dominic said, "That went better than expected." "You were amazing," Rachel said. "The way you stood up to my dad, the way you articulated what matters. I've never been prouder." "I just told the truth. That's why it was perfect." Christmas morning, Dominic woke up early to set up Emma's presents. He'd gotten her new books, some art supplies, and a nice doll she'd been wanting. It wasn't much, but it was what he could afford. There was a knock on the door at 8 in the morning. Rachel, carrying a huge wrapped box. "What is that?" Dominic asked. "Emma's present, from both of us. I cleared it with you first, remember?" He'd forgotten. Rachel had mentioned getting Emma something big, and he'd agreed as long as they presented it as from both of them. When Emma woke up and saw the massive present, her eyes went huge. She tore into the wrapping and screamed with delight. "A bike! It's a bike! Thank you, thank you." She hugged Dominic and then Rachel, bouncing with excitement. "Can we go try it out?" "After breakfast," Dominic said, "and we need to get you a helmet." "I got one," Rachel said, pulling out another package, "and knee pads." They spent Christmas morning at the park, Emma wobbling on her new bike while Dominic ran alongside her. Rachel took pictures, capturing the joy on both their faces. Later, back at the apartment, Emma gave Dominic his new toolbox. "I picked it out myself," she said proudly. Rachel helped. "It's perfect, Princess, thank you." Emma gave Rachel a drawing she'd made of the three of them holding hands. "That's us," Emma explained. "A family," Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "It's beautiful. I'm going to frame it and hang it in my office." That evening, after Emma was asleep, Rachel gave Dominic his real present, a set of keys. "To my place," she explained. "I'm not asking you to move in yet. I know you need time, but I want you to have these, so you can come and go as you please, so you know you're always welcome." He took the keys, feeling the weight of what they represented. "Trust, commitment, a future. Thank you," he said. "I got you something too." His gift was smaller, simpler. A framed photo of the three of them from their day at the park. And a letter he'd written, telling her everything she meant to him. Rachel read it and cried, and they held each other as snow fell outside the window. The new year brought changes. Dominic started using the keys to Rachel's place, bringing Emma over after school sometimes. They'd do homework at Rachel's dining table, and Rachel would come home from work to find them there. Slowly, his things started appearing in her apartment, a toothbrush in her bathroom, some clothes in her closet. Emma's favorite stuffed animal on the guest bed. By February, they were spending more time at Rachel's than at Dominic's apartment. Emma loved having her own room there, bigger and brighter than her old one. Rachel loved coming home to find them waiting for her. One night, Rachel said, "Your lease is up in March, right?" "Yeah." "Don't renew it, just move in, officially." Dominic had been expecting this, had been preparing for it. "You're sure? This is a big step." "I've never been more sure of anything." "Okay, yes, we'll move in." Rachel threw her arms around him. Really, you're right. We're already here most of the time anyway, and Emma loves it, and I love being with you." I love being with you too, they told Emma the next morning. She cheered and did a victory dance around the kitchen. We're really going to live here, forever. Well, as long as Rachel will have us, Dominic said. Forever, Rachel confirmed. If that's okay with you, Emma. It's perfect. Moving was easier than expected because Dominic didn't have much. His furniture went into storage just in case. His clothes and Emma's things, their photos and personal items, they all fit in Rachel's truck. Rachel had cleared out space for them. A section of her closet for Dominic's clothes, drawers in the bathroom. She'd redecorated the guest room for Emma with her input, making it feel like a little girl's dream space. On their first official night living together, after Emma was tucked into her new bed, Dominic and Rachel stood on the balcony looking at the city lights. This is really happening, Dominic said. We're really doing this. Having second thoughts, not even a little bit, just amazed at how my life has changed. 6 months ago, I was just trying to get through each day. Now I have you. I'm the lucky one. You've given me everything I didn't know I was missing. They kissed under the stars, and Dominic thought about that day in the parking lot. How helping a stranger carry her groceries had led to this. To love and family and a future he'd never dared to dream about, life fell into a rhythm. Dominic would drop Emma at school on his way to work. Rachel would pick her up in the afternoon if she could, or Emma would go to the after-school program. They'd have dinner together most nights, all three of them, talking about their days. Dominic and Rachel navigated the logistics of merging their lives. She paid for the big things, the rent and groceries. He contributed what he could and handled the household maintenance. It wasn't perfectly equal, but it worked for them. They had their first real fight in April about a school fundraiser. Rachel wanted to make a large donation in their family's name. Dominic thought it was too much, that it would embarrass Emma. You're being ridiculous, Rachel said, frustrated. It's for a good cause. Why does it matter? Because the other parents will know it came from you, and they'll treat Emma differently, like she's special because of your money. So we should just not help. That doesn't make sense. They went back and forth, both getting heated. Eventually, Emma came out of her room. Stop fighting, she said, tears in her eyes. I don't care about the money, I just want you to stop fighting. They immediately felt terrible. They apologized to Emma and to each other, and they compromised. Rachel made a moderate donation, anonymously, so it didn't draw attention to Emma. The fight scared them both, but it also proved something important. They could disagree and work through it. Their love was strong enough to weather conflict. In May, Rachel asked Dominic and Emma to come to her office. I want you to see where I work, she said. And I want the people I work with to meet my family. At Rivers Corporation, heads turned as Rachel walked through with Dominic and Emma. People whispered, curious about the construction worker and his daughter, but Rachel didn't care. She introduced them proudly, her hand in Dominic's. Emma was fascinated by everything. The computers, the conference rooms, the view from Rachel's office on the top floor. You're really important, Emma said with awe. I have an important job, Rachel corrected. But that's not what makes me important. You and your dad, you make me important. You make me matter. Marcus met them and immediately fell in love with Emma. She's adorable. Can we keep her? She's mine, Dominic said with a smile. That night, Rachel said, thank you for coming today, for being willing to be part of my work life. Of course. I want to be part of every part of your life. Even the boring board meetings? Well, maybe not those. They laughed, and everything felt easy again. Summer came, bringing long days and warm weather. Dominic's work got busier, but Frank was understanding when he needed to leave early for Emma's activities. Rachel took time off, more than she ever had before, to spend with her family. They took a vacation together in July, just a long weekend at a lake cabin. Nothing fancy, but Emma loved it. They swam and fished and roasted marshmallows. It was simple and perfect. One night after Emma was asleep, they sat by the campfire holding hands. I want to marry you, Dominic said suddenly. Rachel's heart stopped. What? I know I don't have a ring yet. I'm saving up for one. But I needed you to know. I want to marry you, Rachel. I want to be your husband. I want Emma to have your last name if that's something you'd want. I want forever with you." "Yes," Rachel said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I want that too." They kissed, and it felt like a promise. "Like a beginning. I should do this properly," Dominic said, "with a ring and a real proposal. I don't need fancy, I just need you. Still, I want to do it right. Give me a little time. I'll wait forever if I have to." Back in the city, Dominic started saving every extra penny for a ring. He looked at jewelry stores and felt overwhelmed by the prices. Even the simple ones cost more than he had. Marcus helped him, actually. Rachel's assistant heard through the grapevine what Dominic was planning and reached out. "Let me help you find something in your price range," Marcus said. "I know people." Together, they found a vintage ring at an estate sale. It was simple but beautiful, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. It was all Dominic could afford, but it was perfect. "She'll love it," Marcus assured him, "because it's from you." Dominic planned the proposal for a Saturday in September. He arranged for Mrs. Chen to watch Emma for the evening. He made a reservation at the restaurant where they'd had their first real date. He was nervous and excited and terrified. Rachel knew something was up. Dominic had been acting strange all week, but she pretended not to notice, not wanting to ruin whatever he was planning. At the restaurant, they had a wonderful meal. Rachel kept looking at him curiously, but Dominic waited. He wanted the moment to be right. After dessert, he took her hand. "Rachel, 6 months ago, I helped you carry your groceries in a snowstorm. Best decision I ever made, dropping those bags. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. You've changed my life. You've made me believe in love again. You've given Emma a role model and a friend. You've given us a home and a family. Dominic, let me finish. I know I'm not the man you probably imagined ending up with. I don't have money or status, but I love you with everything I have, and I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy." He got down on one knee, and Rachel's hands flew to her mouth. The restaurant went quiet, people turning to watch. "Rachel Rivers, will you marry me?" He opened the ring box. The sapphire caught the light, glowing deep blue. "Yes," Rachel said, crying and laughing at the same time. "Yes, yes, yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and it fit perfectly. The restaurant erupted in applause. They kissed and nothing else mattered. Not the differences in their backgrounds, not what anyone else thought. Just them choosing each other, committing to a future together. When they picked up Emma from Mrs. Chen's, Rachel showed her the ring. "We're getting married," she told Emma. "How do you feel about that?" Emma looked at both of them seriously. "Does this mean Rachel is going to be my mom?" "If you want that," Rachel said carefully. "I'd be honored to be your mom, Emma, but only if you're comfortable with it." Emma thought about it, then she nodded. "Okay, you can be my mom, but can I call you Rachel Mom, just so I remember you're special?" Rachel pulled Emma into a hug, crying again. "Rachel Mom is perfect." They told their parents and friends. Dominic's dad was thrilled, welcoming Rachel to the family with open arms. Rachel's parents were more reserved, but seemed genuinely happy for them. They set the wedding date for the following spring. Neither of them wanted a huge affair. Just close family and friends, something meaningful rather than flashy. Rachel's mother tried to push for a big society wedding, but Rachel stood firm. "This is our wedding, Mother. We're doing it our way." The planning was actually fun. Emma helped pick out colors and flowers. They decided on a small ceremony at a historic inn just outside the city. Simple, elegant, intimate. Dominic insisted on paying for what he could. The rings, which he saved up for over several months, his tuxedo rental, small things, but they mattered to him. Rachel let him, understanding his need to contribute. As winter turned to spring, their little family continued to grow closer. Emma started calling Rachel Rachel Mom consistently, which made Rachel cry every single time. Dominic and Rachel fell deeper in love, learning each other's rhythms and quirks, building a partnership based on mutual respect and genuine affection. The wedding day arrived in May, a year after Dominic had helped Rachel in that parking lot. The weather was perfect, sunny and warm with a gentle breeze. Emma was the flower girl, wearing a pink dress she'd picked out herself. She took her role seriously, carefully dropping petals down the aisle. Rachel walked down the aisle to where Dominic waited, and the look on his face made everything worth it. All the struggles, all the doubt, all the challenges of merging their different worlds, it all melted away in the face of his love. They said their vows, promising to love and support each other through everything life brought, to be partners in every sense, to build a family based on love and respect and honesty. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Dominic kissed Rachel like she was his whole world. Because she was. At the reception, which was small and perfect, Emma gave a toast that had everyone crying. "My daddy used to be sad sometimes," she said, reading from a card she'd prepared. "He tried to hide it, but I could tell. Then he met Rachel's mom in a snowstorm. And now he smiles all the time. And I have a mom who loves me and takes me to museums and helps me with homework. So thank you, Snowstorm, for bringing us Rachel's mom." Dominic danced with Emma first, swaying slowly to a sweet song while she stood on his feet like she used to when she was little. Then he danced with Rachel, holding her close, whispering how much he loved her. Rachel danced with her father, who told her, "I was wrong about him. He's a good man. He makes you happy, that's all that matters." "It is, Dad. That's all that's ever mattered." Their honeymoon was a week at the beach, just the three of them. They'd decided to bring Emma because she was so much a part of their relationship. She played in the sand while Dominic and Rachel walked hand in hand along the shore. "No regrets?" Dominic asked. "Not a single one. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Even though I'm never going to be rich. Especially because you're never going to be rich. You have things that matter so much more. Integrity. Kindness. Love. That's real wealth, Dominic." He kissed her, tasting salt and sunscreen and happiness. They returned home to their apartment, which truly felt like home now. All three of their things mixed together. Photos on every surface. Emma's artwork on the fridge. A life fully merged and shared. Rachel made some changes at work, delegating more so she could be home for dinner most nights. She'd realized that success didn't mean working yourself to death. It meant having balance. Having a life outside the office. Having people who mattered more than quarterly reports. Dominic got a promotion at work. Frank made him a supervisor, which came with better pay and more responsibility. He was proud of himself, proud to be advancing in his career, proud to be contributing more to their household. Emma thrived with two parents. Her grades were excellent. She made friends easily. She was confident and happy, secure in the knowledge that she was loved. One night in the fall, a year and a half after that fateful day in the parking lot, they were all cuddled on the couch watching a movie. Emma fell asleep between them, her head on Rachel's lap, her feet in Dominic's. "We should talk about something," Rachel said quietly. "What?" "I want to have a baby, with you. I want to give Emma a sibling. I want to expand our family." Dominic felt his heart expand. "Really? Really, I never thought I wanted kids, but Emma has shown me how incredible it is, and I want to experience it all with you. Pregnancy, a newborn, all of it." "Yes," Dominic said simply. "Yes, let's have a baby." They started trying, and 3 months later, Rachel took a pregnancy test that came back positive. They told Emma together, watching her face light up with joy. "A baby? Really? I'm going to be a big sister." "You are," Rachel confirmed. "What do you think?" "I think it's the best news ever." The pregnancy was relatively easy. Rachel worked through most of it, though she took more time off as her due date approached. Emma helped prepare the nursery, picking out colors and decorations with serious concentration. Dominic was amazed by the whole process. Watching Rachel's body change, feeling the baby kick, seeing Emma talk to Rachel's belly. This was his family, growing and changing and becoming more complete. Their son was born in July, a healthy baby boy they named Daniel Robert Reynolds. Emma was immediately smitten, wanting to hold him and help with everything. Rachel was a natural mother, just as Dominic had known she would be. The first few months were exhausting but wonderful. Late-night feedings, diaper changes, the constant needs of a newborn. But they did it together, supporting each other, taking shifts, making it work. Emma proved to be an excellent big sister, gentle and patient with Daniel. She'd read to him and sing to him and make him laugh with funny faces. Dominic watched his family and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. How had he gotten so lucky? How had a chance encounter in a parking lot led to all this? Rachel felt the same way. She'd look at Dominic with Daniel in his arms, or watch him help Emma with homework while rocking the baby with his foot, and feel like her heart might burst with love. They celebrated their second wedding anniversary at home with Emma and Daniel, ordering takeout and watching movies. It wasn't fancy, but it was perfect. "I have something for you," Dominic said, handing Rachel a wrapped package. Inside was a new photo album filled with pictures from the past 2 years. Their wedding, Emma's school events, Rachel pregnant, Daniel's birth, all the little moments that had made up their life together. "It's beautiful," Rachel said, tears in her eyes. "You made this, with Emma's help. We wanted you to have something to remember how far we've come." Rachel's gift to him was tickets to a concert he'd mentioned wanting to see months ago. For a date night, Mrs. Chen already agreed to babysit. They went to the concert the following month, just the two of them, holding hands and feeling young and free. But they were also excited to get home to their kids, to resume their roles as parents. This was their life now. Not perfect, but real and full and overflowing with love. 5 years after that snowy day in the parking lot, Dominic stood in their apartment, now truly their home, and watched his family. Emma was 12 now, helping Daniel with his preschool homework. Rachel was in the kitchen making dinner, her professional clothes exchanged for comfortable home wear. She looked up and caught him watching, smiling at him across the room. That smile still made his heart skip, even after all these years. Emma looked up too. "Daddy, come help us. Daniel doesn't understand his shapes." "I do understand," Daniel protested. "That's a rectangle." "Close." "It's actually a trapezoid." Dominic joined them at the table, ruffling Daniel's hair. Rachel came over with snacks, and they all worked on homework together, a family ritual they'd developed. Later, after the kids were in bed, Dominic and Rachel sat on their balcony like they often did, looking at the city lights. "Do you ever think about that day?" Rachel asked. "When we first met, all the time, best day of my life." "Mine too." Who knew that dropping groceries in the snow would lead to all this? "I think it was fate. We were supposed to meet, supposed to build this life together." "I believe that. You know what the best part is?" "What?" "We're still falling in love. Every single day I find new reasons to love you. It doesn't fade or diminish, it just keeps growing." "Same. You're my best friend, Rachel, my partner, the love of my life." They kissed under the stars, just like they had so many times before, and they knew with absolute certainty that they'd keep building this life together. Keep facing challenges and celebrating victories. Keep loving each other and their children with everything they had. A few months later, on a cold December day, Dominic found himself back at that same supermarket parking lot. Rachel had sent him to pick up last-minute items for a holiday party they were hosting. He was loading groceries into the car when he noticed a young man struggling with shopping bags in the snow. The man was trying to manage multiple bags while a toddler cried in a car seat. Dominic smiled to himself, then he walked over. "Hey, let me give you a hand with those." The man looked up, surprised and grateful. "Really? Thank you so much." As Dominic helped carry the bags to the man's car, he felt the circle complete itself. Someone had helped him when he needed it, in more ways than just carrying groceries. Now he could pass that kindness forward. "You have a good day," Dominic said, "and take care of that little one." "Thank you, I really appreciate it." Driving home, Dominic thought about how one small act of kindness had changed his entire life. How helping Rachel that snowy day had led to love and marriage and family and happiness beyond anything he'd imagined. At home, their apartment was filled with noise and laughter. Emma was decorating cookies with Daniel, both of them covered in frosting. Rachel was on a work call but managed to wave at him, her eyes lighting up when she saw him. This was his life. Messy and chaotic and absolutely perfect, built on a foundation of love and respect and commitment. Proof that sometimes the best things in life come from the simplest acts of kindness. Dominic Reynolds, construction worker, single dad, had helped a woman carry packages through the snow, and in doing so, he'd found everything he never knew he needed. Love, partnership, family, home. And Rachel Rivers, CEO, had dropped her groceries in a parking lot and found the man who would show her what really mattered in life. Not success or wealth or status, but genuine connection and unconditional love. Together with Emma and Daniel, they'd built something beautiful. A family that chose each other every single day, a love that grew stronger with each passing year, a life that was rich in all the ways that truly counted. That night, as they tucked the kids into bed together, Dominic whispered to Rachel, "Thank you." For what? For seeing me, for loving me, for giving me this life. Thank you for being someone worth seeing, someone worth loving, someone who makes every day better just by being in it. They kissed their children goodnight and retreated to their own room, ready to fall asleep in each other's arms, grateful for the chance encounter that had brought them together and the love that kept them there. In the morning, there would be breakfast to make and work to go to and homework to check and all the mundane details of family life. But underneath, it all would be love. Constant, unwavering, transformative love, and that was everything. The end.